Now it's also coming out that a neighbor possibly heard a scream at 4 a.m. And the police, we don't even know if they know that yet. Nah, they don't want to confirm or deny pretty much anything. And they just want to, what it seems like, just stay in their little bubble and not really explore anything outside of it. I think it has to do with a little bit of pride and hubris as well. Kind of like, oh, these internet sleuths and the mainstream media, you don't even know what we know. We know a lot more than you. There's no way you know more than us. Dude, you don't understand the benefit of crowdsourcing. And as we talked about in our last podcast, crime sourcing. It's extremely beneficial to bring in all different minds, all different walks of life, all different experiences, all different skill sets, all working for a common good, such as with this case, to solve the case, and taking in all those different perspectives, all those different resources, all those different ideas, and pulling them all together. You're going to be well in advance of any of the Moscow PD investigators, So it's just really sad. It feels like that it seems that the Moscow PD does not understand the benefit of crowdsourcing. All they're looking at is just the negatives. Oh, all these rumors on the internet, and they're just hindering our investigation. That's what it seems that they are thinking. Oh, these rumors are just making things difficult for us. Why don't you actually take the good ideas that are coming out on the internet and all these interesting perspectives and new ways of thinking of it and incorporating it into your thought process and your investigation to take action to catch the guy? Come on. Maybe what some people on the internet are doing actually have some interesting value that you can glean from to progress the case. I personally feel what we're noticing with the Moscow PD is a lot of hubris, a lot of arrogance, and a lot of pride. They just don't want to admit that, hey, maybe people on the internet actually have some good ideas. Maybe there's some smart people that actually have experience and actually have some ideas that you haven't thought of. You ever think of that? But I think for them, it's all pride, and they don't want to let that go. They seem so far behind on this case, and I don't see them catching this guy anytime soon. Some people say, oh, well, sometimes these cases take time. Yeah, it's true. They sometimes take time. But this case is at the forefront of national attention. You have the whole country. You can get the whole country looking for a single person or whatever you need. The whole country will be looking for that, okay? So you basically have unlimited resources at your disposal. And that's the reason why it should be solved quicker. And it should not take months and months and years to solve a case. No. Someone else could be harmed or injured or killed in that time frame. Get them now. Instead of working against social media and working against the online sleuths, they call them, instead of working against them, why don't you work with them and bring them in and have them help with the case? Whether that's a former FBI investigator, whether that's a former, PD investigator, whatever it is. Or maybe some people have other skills that the police department can leverage. Why don't you use the country instead of pushing them away? Use them. Maybe some people don't have the experience to actually go through leads and find out what's credible, what's not, and everything like that. But why don't you leverage some people to bring them in and actually help with the case? Whether that's even just the local people. It's just a shame that it seems that they are very understaffed, yet there's so many people that are willing to help. If there's so many people willing to help, bring them in. And someone's going to say this. Someone's going to say it. Maybe the killer is going to try to volunteer to try to, divert the investigation. Possibly. But that's why you need checks and balances for all the people you do bring in and all their work. Also, anyone you do bring in, you can try to rule them out is an option too. Now, the parents of the victims are hiring their own private investigators because they're fed up with the investigation and apparently the Moscow PD, which proves further that, Moscow PD is kind of behind the ball here. And the parents that, of course, want justice for their children, they feel like it's necessary to bring in a private investigator, which says a lot about the situation over there. That even the parents are noticing this. This is not like, oh, well, we're just critical because we want to find the guy now. No. It seems pretty bad. And I think the parents of the children are kind of left in the dark, which is not cool, of course. Typically in an investigation, the loved ones of the deceased, of the victims, are given, preferential treatment, I think. They're kept in the loop more. The police is closely in contact with them, with the understanding that they would not go to the media because, you don't want to let certain information out. Okay. But I don't think the Moscow PD is doing what is typical in an investigation of keeping the loved ones in the loop, which can be quite annoying and, really frustrating for their families. The problem is that the Moscow PD doesn't have a lot to say. They're just so far behind. So they're just like, well, we're not going to tell you anything because we don't know anything. It seems to be the case. And, this whole thing of like, oh, don't believe everything you hear. Again, I really think the Moscow PD is being extremely, extremely prideful in all of this. And it's quite sad because I think it's at the detriment of the investigation.